Now, I'd like to recognize the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I very much appreciate your appearance before this committee today. We're all united in our enthusiasm for moving this program forward. We all have many questions and very little time. I represent Louisiana. Let me jump forward to manned presence on the moon, which, as we have discussed earlier, is a stepping stone to Mars. Have landing sites, lunar landing sites, been discussed and determined?
From a robotic standpoint, I think what we're interested in now is if you look at the Apollo missions, most of those missions were equatorial around the equator of the moon. We see potential water, or at least water in the north and south pole of the moon. That could be very, very important to us as we think about moving forward. If we don't have to carry all our resources with us as we move into the solar system, if we can get water from the moon, that would be very interesting to us. So we see some permanently shadowed regions in the north and south pole of the moon that we would like to investigate, maybe first robotically and then potentially, if it makes sense, with humans in those areas. But as soon as we can understand how that water is potentially held in the lunar regolith, that can be really important to a market and how we use that and how we move presence into the solar system.
Yes, sir. Regarding shelter for human presence on the moon for extended exploration and extended periods of time on the moon's surface, one of the major challenges is developing habitant, protected areas where the astronauts could stay. Last month, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency discovered a large and stable lava tube beneath the surface, approximately 300 feet deep, 300 feet wide, accessible through what they refer to as skylights, areas where the ceiling or the roof of the tube had collapsed. Does this change the paradigm of what you and your team might be considering regarding human habitation?
I think it's definitely something to be considered, because if you can take advantage of the radiation shielding provided by the lunar regolith, and you can have a structure or a location to actually go into for storm shelters, that could be interesting. So I think that's something that we need to continue to keep looking at and see how that fits in.
And this could be explored robotically, am I correct?
Yes, you could definitely do it robotically. We've talked sometimes about having an orbiting or crew-tended capability around the moon. You could do that, and then you could use astronauts on board this gateway concept that we've talked about to actually command rovers to drive into these potential lava tubes, explore them, understand what's available prior to committing humans to go.
Yes, sir. And one more thing regarding these underground caverns and tubes, as opposed to on Earth, because of the low gravity of the moon, it's been stated by reputable scientists that these tubes could be as large as 2 or 3 miles in diameter. Does your studies concur with that?
I'm not familiar with those studies, and I'd have to go research that or ask someone.
Thank you for your response. Could you, if that information becomes available during the course of your studies, sir, and thank you for your continued research, could you possibly provide that to this committee?
Yes, we will.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Higgins. They've come